joining us today for Carfax PowerUp webinar. We're going to continue this series and provide best practices from experts around the industry to everyone attending. Those who are new to webinars, we're going to examine key industry issues affecting dealer businesses and provide with new ideas that you can use immediately in your operations. Today's event is titled Your 4-Point Action Plan, Marketing Used Cars Online, and will last approximately 45 minutes, including a little time for Q&A. Just a few quick administrative details to get out of the way. If your phones are on mute, I ask that you please submit your questions through the Q&A function in your WebEx toolbar. If you're in full screen mode, it'll be at the top of your screen, but if not, it'll be located on the right-hand side of your screen. Please feel free to submit questions throughout the event, and we'll answer as many as we can following our speaker presentations. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're very excited to have Bill Berry with us. Bill is the VP of Sales at AutoRevo and has been with the company for 6 years, but in the auto industry for over 10. He's a feature article writer and has made it his mission to help dealers understand automotive internet marketing. He's responsible for managing AutoRevo's sales department, doing customer and dealer group acquisitions, extending vendor and partner relationships, and public speaking at industry events. So let's get started. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Welcome, everybody. First, I'd like to take the time out to say thank you. I know that your schedules are busy, and I really appreciate you guys all being here today. So what we're talking about is your Craigslist FIAT status. And what the FIAT status really is being able to break down and analyze what's working for you and what's the best way to maximize what you're currently doing on Craigslist. So while some of you may or may not be using Craigslist now, what we're going to do is we're going to cover and help you refine the process and better help you manage your expectations. So you're all aware the TOS agreement on Craigslist, or the terms of service, is between you, the dealer, and Craigslist. And I know that we all read the terms of service, but I would suggest that if you haven't, that you definitely go and do so and make some decisions that you'll be comfortable with for your dealership. I know it's painful, but you guys may actually learn something you didn't know before. So, August 2012, over 700 cities in 70 countries have Craigslist sites. Craigslist is currently comes in the 10th most trafficked site in the United States. I'm asked, how does Craigslist make their money? They make their money basically from job postings and apartment postings within certain cities. And it's not every city, it's just certain cities. And you guys may or may not know that eBay actually owns 25% of Craigslist, or approximately thereabouts. So why do dealers love Craigslist? Well, the reason, it's simple. They love Craigslist because it drives traffic. It can make a huge difference to the bottom line if done correctly, and it immediately can move the needle in your local area. But also hate Craigslist. They hate it because, it's the scamming and the spamming and the ghosting and the flagging and all the competition that's out there. Over the last couple of years, what we found is that, once it just figured out that this actually works, every brother wanted to be there. It's one of those things that it's very evil if you're trying to do it right. So what we found on a whole is Craigslist can increase your bottom line. For some of you, it may be an essential part of your online marketing strategy. For others, it's maybe just a necessary evil. I know some of you are doing it just because the guy down the street, he's doing it, and you want to make sure that you are where he is. I've also heard from some dealers that it's really not worth the time and the effort that it takes to do it. If that's the case, then you're probably not doing it correctly. If we look at our dealers as a whole, or the dealers I have as a whole, we've really seen them being able to increase their sales by 10, 20, 30%, and makes a big difference to what their monthly numbers are. So as I go further along in the webinar, you'll see what I mean. There's a high percentage of you guys right now that are currently posting to Craigslist, and you don't know if the listing was actually successful. A lot of guys are posting out there and it's being ghosted, and they don't even know it. Most dealers are getting leads, and they don't even question how they're getting the leads or where the leads are coming from, or what the overall is. But we see a lot of dealers that are not taking advantage of some services that are out there that drive traffic directly back to their website. There's some of the auto posting services or whatever that will drive traffic to a landing page, but the dealer's not really getting credit for that traffic, nor are they able to show off a lot of the other inventory that they currently have. So when I look at the dealerships as a whole and trying to figure out, if there are these things that are available to them, why aren't they doing it? Dealers out there that they can't tell you, if you were to ask them, are they being flagged? Is it been removed? Some cities are different than other cities as far as how long it actually stays on there or what's going to happen. And obviously some dealerships are flagging other dealerships, so it makes it difficult to try to keep your inventory out there. Dealers require ROI from most of their providers, and Craigslist would really be no different. The time and effort that you have to put into your listings, you should be able to see an ROI on that. When I started this project back about 6 months ago, dealers that I had were struggling, and then some of them were really successful. And 4 years ago, when we released our first product, it was overwhelmingly successful. It was relatively new to the business, and ever since then we've always tried to understand exactly what's going on behind the curtain. Craigslist is this mythical creature that everybody just wants to be there, and if there's any problems, nobody can call them and things like that. So we just tried to figure out what's going on. For the most part, it's always been self-policed. Craigslist community as a whole will try to police itself. And there's a small team in San Francisco, and never really got involved unless it was just an egregious breach of terms of service or the abuse of terms of service that went too far. So let's fast forward to today. Today I've seen dealers posting in one city just fine, and they are posting into another city and they get ghosted. I've seen sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't within the same city. Cities, things along those lines. So really no rhyme or reason as to why certain dealers are being successful and certain ones weren't. And this made it difficult, if not impossible, to diagnose actual consistency to a problem. So for this webinar, what we're going to do is we're going to have to operate under some assumptions. We're going to operate, I'm going to show you some things that really you have to make sure you're not being ghosted or some other things, because we can't really get around those problems. But so we're going to assume that you're actually getting your listings live onto Craigslist. So for my study, what I had to do is I had to set out and find somebody that fit certain criteria for me. What does the dealership actually have control over? Ships, we only have control over the same region, the same number of vehicles that they have on lot, and really the same type of inventory. That's the only thing that there's control over. And so look at that, we think about these things, and as dealers realize that certain will work better than others. So in the study that I found, I had numbers, and as crunching these numbers, I have this aha moment. And an aha moment was finding somebody that met my criteria about, how many postings did they have over a year, and over that year, how many of those postings were actually month by month. Then I examined, how many units they had on the ground over the course of that year, and obviously what was the fluctuation of those units month over month. Going through all of the listings and grouping them by time and date, a picture started to develop. And then the next thing to look at was the actual city in which they were putting off into. And when you look at Craigslist, the cities that are available, a lot of times if a city is getting too much traffic, they'll actually split that traffic out and try to get into neighborhood type cities. So, it's something that had to be consistent in order for me to be able to do what I was trying to do. Importantly was traffic for the dealership was actually being driven back to the website for what that dealership was trying to, for the listings that were being posted, what was actually coming back to them. So Craigslist is one of the areas that, like we said before, the scammers, the spammers, and all the other good stuff. So this was to the love-hate side again. The issues that are plaguing dealers is the same exact issues that the consumer side is facing on Craigslist. You have to remember, they're getting all of the spam emails, they're getting the Nigerian scammers and all the other things that are going on. And so they're trying to figure out, when they see an ad, they're trying to figure out if it's a real ad, is it a real car, is this a real person, is this the old too good to be true? So that side of it. But like, let's say eBay, eBay's always been very good for your reputation, and with the feedback system that they have, you can pretty much trust the person that you're buying based on the feedback and the experience of others. Well, look at Craigslist, that's not available. You don't have the ability to do the things that you would normally do with, let's say, if you're buying an item on Amazon, you're able to look up at the vendor, look at all the reviews, and see those kind of things. So when you're getting a customer back from Craigslist directly to your website, what we're finding is that really is the first impression for the dealership and that consumer. They're trying right now at that point to figure out who you are, what you're doing, and what you're about. So if they're interested in the vehicle, that's obviously most important. So, the aha moment for me was, after analyzing everything over and over and over again, month after month, there was a pattern that developed. And then for me was, frequency. So the amount of times that a dealership was posting, how much that the customer's traffic, how much was that being out of that posting city, so was the inventory actually right for the city, and then the time of day. What time of day that these were actually being posted off? By crunching all of that, we were able to come to some conclusions. So let's talk about frequency. This is probably not a better slide that I could have picked for this. Frequency is on the amount of postings that you have truly depends on whether you're being seen or not being seen. You'd be surprised at how many dealers are putting up their inventory once or a month and trying to think that it's just going to stay on there. And we know that within certain areas, it could be gone in 7 days, it could be gone in 45 days, but realistically, it could be 4 or 5 pages back relatively quickly. Successful dealers are this process consistently. They have a method to the madness. They are going to make sure that their vehicles are going to be on there constantly refreshed, because obviously some consumers are not going to continue to go back page after page to try to find what it is that they're looking for. So posting off to Craigslist, keep Craigslist customer in mind. It's a local buyer. So the example that I usually give to my dealers is, if you have let's say that you just traded for this sweet Corvette convertible, and it's the middle of winter in Bismarck, North Dakota, may not be the best spot for what you're trying to sell. But Craigslist is, it's good for pieces of inventory, but I wouldn't really expect something out of it depending on the pieces of inventory and the area that you're putting it into. It's a local customer. You're trying to drive that traffic from Craigslist back to the shop. You're trying to set that appointment. Is that there's a lot of dealerships that geographically have some major cities around them. By list rules, they want you to post into your local city or the cities that's close to you. But sometimes you may be borderline between some major cities. As you know, certain cities do much better than other cities. So I just a test. And what I found is that, you dramatically increase the overall traffic that you have by just testing some local regions. And when you see results side by side, then that gives you a really good idea of where you're going to get the best bang for your buck and the amount of time that you're actually spending to do this. What we noticed was, and I've personally witnessed this, in the Dallas market, if you were to post in mid-afternoon, let's do 3 o'clock, by 5 or 6 o'clock, you're 4 or 5 pages back. And certain have much more competition than other markets. So if yourself getting pushed a couple of pages back relatively quickly, try checking the time of day. Actually had done a study here internally where by posting between 7 and 10 a.m. in the morning, you'll see a 20 to 30% increase in the amount of page views that you have, which obviously translates into more clicks to the website. So keep that in mind when you guys are actually posting off. Keep in mind how or what the competition looks like at particular times of day. So the different question that we're looking at, this dealership over a couple of months had about the same amount of inventory, and I had to apply the method, the FIAT method, to what we were looking at because I was trying to figure out, what was the decline in traffic? Where was this falling down? Was it something that the dealership was doing? Is it, where was the issue? By looking at the 4 key areas, what I found was that reducing the frequency by only 5 vehicles a day, just 5, their Craigslist views dropped by 21,000, and that also translated into their website views being reduced by 1,440. So I'm sure most of you guys would agree that 1,440 people coming back from a local city to your website is key. That's huge, and for them to drop that kind of traffic just from 5, not doing 5 listings, the dealer never realized that it was hurting them that bad. And for this dealership in particular, a 10% drop in volume. As you can see, how much just 10% of what you were normally posting to what actually translated into for them. And I want to apologize ahead of time because we're about to do a little bit of math. And there we go. So here's the math for the deal was this. Posting 25 cars a day, and we're going to do the assumption that there's 20 work days a month. And we post times a month, you multiply that by 50 views. On this dealership actually had more than that, but I'm just rounding it up because I'm rounding it for the nice even numbers. But it looked at as an average for just 25 vehicles a day. That translates out to 25,000 Craigslist views. Inventory being seen by your local customer that engage with your postings, and if you can get them to drive traffic back to your website, and let's use a lowball number. The low number here, let's say, is 5%. 5% of everybody that clicks on one of your Craigslist ads comes back to your website. That will still translate to 1,250 local customers coming back and driving that traffic to your website. Once again, I really apologize for you guys having to do math. So anything worth doing is worth doing right. Craigslist takes time. It does take effort. I know people are using third-party listings. That's a totally different discussion. But if you do it, it can dramatically increase your bottom line if you're going to do it correctly. Me personally here internally, I'm always looking for the best way of doing things. I'm always questioning the results that I have and always trying to tweak and see how can I make something better. So, like I said before, Craigslist is no different than any other provider. It takes time, it takes energy. Measure results. Look at your frequency, look at your inventory, look at the data that you're posting off into, and of day and what you're posting. And we have a really good baseline for the information that you have, then tweak it to see what works best for you and what's going to maximize your results. And so really the message of this is frequency, the area, the inventory, and the time. Make sure that you're actually drawing that traffic, if you can, back to your website. So once again, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out and listening to this webinar. I have a white paper that's available on this that's basically summarized all of this information if you're interested in it. You can feel free to contact me via email after the fact, or if you have any questions, I know that we're going to be covering them after the webinar. And right now I'd like to transfer this back over to Britt, and thanks again for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
That was some fantastic information. We did one quick question I'd love to ask you real quick. Somebody asked if you could briefly define ghosting and flagging. You referred to those in your presentation. Just trying to figure out what that means.
Oh, great. Is when you are actually posting off, and typically it's based on either the account that you have or the account that you have or the IP address. Something has happened where the community has policed you. Ghosting really means that you'll see it inside of your Craigslist account, and look at it in the account, you'll be able to see it, but it never actually gets indexed. It never actually shows up to where the customers can see that ad. That's what ghosting means. So that's how they're basically policing a lot of the scammers and spammers and things like that, where it's still being seen behind the scenes in your account, but you'll never actually see it on the listing, on the index. Now, flagging is a totally different animal. We're flagging other dealers. I've seen it 100 times. There was a tool out there called Craig's Flagger that was actually allowed somebody to just put in the URL, and a bunch of different servers actually took the listing down. But typically, the vast majority of the time, flagging only means that it's inappropriate, and that happens when dealers are trying to post into the sale by owner versus actually posting into the dealer section. But when it's typically community policed. When community policed, there's really not much you can do about it. But being aware that's been flagged, you can always repost it and just try to continue to put your inventory out there.
Great. Oh, well, that makes sense. Thanks a lot. And I know there's going to be some more questions for you at the end.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks. Our next expert is Mike Platts. Mike is a process improvement manager with Carfax. With nearly a decade of auto industry experience, Mike has key insights on how dealers can increase their success in today's market. He spent the last 4 years with Carfax working with literally hundreds of dealers across the country to utilize proven best practices that improve their used car operations. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Bill, for all that great information. It's a pleasure to present with you here this afternoon. Everybody for joining us. My portion of the webinar this afternoon, I'm going to share with you the role that vehicle history plays in your advertising efforts, how consumers are behaving online, and how you can leverage that emotional connection that consumers have with Carfax and vehicle history to drive more awareness and increase your traffic inside your dealership. Now, I'm going to set the stage for our discussion this afternoon. We'll talk about a few stats. On average, the average consumer is going to spend about 16 hours seeing information before entering the car buying process at home, at the office. Before they can see you at your dealership, they're going to spend almost 2 full working days just seeing information, doing their homework. And I just that was kind of interesting. Out of those 2 full days, those 16 average hours, they're going to research the vehicle. Out of 4 potential buyers have all identified the current, the year, the features, the options they want. So I to your dealership, if they're interested in a 2009 Ford Explorer, you know them on 2009 Ford Explorer. They already know they want that. Your goal is to tell them on yours. Why is yours differently? So what we have to understand is what used car shoppers want. When online, when they're at home, when they're spending the 16 hours to saying what car, what dealership, what is it that they want to know? What are they fearful of? What apprehensions do they have? And at Carfax, we spend a lot of time every year monitoring the consumer. So you can have webinars such as this and kind of report to you, the dealer, how the consumer is behaving online, what are their wants, what are their needs, what are their fears, and every single year, year over year, they come up with these top 4 concerns: accidents and damage, service maintenance, ownership, and price. And that's not to say that price is equally as important as the other 3. Price is somewhat irrelevant, and the other 3 concerns have been addressed, and their requirements have been met on the bill they're considering for purchase. Take a look at this vehicle, for example. Now, this car looks the same to the consumer. They're considering this car at 2 separate dealerships with your market. So they're here. They were on AutoTrader or Cars.com last night. They did a search within 50 miles, 100 miles, and they came up with 200 Toyota Camrys that came up within their search. Now, the question is, out of 200 options, why is the consumer going to drive by 199 other options to make yours? Now, take the information below these 2 cars. You'll notice, through the consumer, these vehicles look the same. However, their histories are very, very, very different. Now, that your vehicle is the one on the right-hand side. You have the vehicle that has the accident record, it's been involved in some form of pre-damage event. Now, your goal as the sales consultant or as the dealer should be to find something unique about that vehicle. What that vehicle makes it different and unique versus the other 199 that the consumer has an option to in your market. You want attention to things like service records. Has the accident been repaired properly? One very important point I want to make to you that kind of gets a bit sometimes or missed is how long did the previous owner of that vehicle, how long did they own that vehicle after the accident? Did they get rid of the vehicle 2 months after the accident, 3 months after the accident, or onto it for another 2, 3, 4 years? Kind of, showing the consumer that's considering that vehicle that the damage wasn't all that severe. So, I'd like to say, if you have 100 cars on your lot, it would be next to impossible for sales staff to learn all 100 cars and sort the vehicle tree. But bring it into a day. Could your sales staff learn 5 cars a day? Could they 5 cars in the lot, look at the history, glance at the Carfax report, and learn those 5 cars? So each time, you're talking 25, 30 cars that's able to, on a whim, pull something unique out of history that's going to separate that car from a similar one like it in the marketplace. You want to pay attention to some new things that Carfax is doing to our report. You're going to be familiar with the picture you're looking at now, the accident or damage report. Many times, you use Carfax report and you don't agree that it deserves that accident or that damage badge. It's just a scratch. Or maybe the vehicle was at the scene of an accident and it sustained 0 damage. So go forward, pay attention to the detail on the report as we're making some changes to get more consumer friendly, lower that guard so that they're not so fearful of steering a vehicle that's been involved in a previous damage event. And one of the things I want you to take a look at is not so much the verbiage, but in our studies and in our surveying the consumer, we have found that what's more fear to them or what bounces out at them more is that logo, that yellow triangle that pops off the page when it was involved in a previous accident. So you'll notice on the minor damage reported, very minor damage reported, that little logo, that icon has also changed, just to give the consumer the idea that the accident may not be so very severe. The record that we're adding is going to look something like this. Maybe you've seen it. This is brand new, but that vehicle that was involved in some sort of a event where it sustained 0 damage. So accident was reported. We have news. If it happened, we have to report it. That's our job. We want the consumer to know that it was involved in something where it sustained damage. That makes that conversation a heck of a lot easier that consumer bring more value into that vehicle. So, keeping things such as new updates to the Carfax report, such as verbiage in the icons, service records, repair records, how the consumer held on to that vehicle after the accident took place, things like that. Let's kind of look into the kind of journey or the path that consumers are taking to find your car on the internet. So sites such as AutoRevo, Cars.com. Now, Carfax has very, very exclusive partnerships with these advertising sites. I'm going to dive into a little more in a future slide. But social media sites such as Facebook, all of these are in an effort to do one thing. We invest in third-party sites and enhance them to the best of our ability to drive that consumer to the dealer website, our virtual showroom. This is where we want them to end up ultimately. So I want to give you a walkthrough of how Carfax plays a role in that. How Carfax assists the consumer in finding your virtual website. Many on this call have already visited Carfax.com. If you have not, I would encourage you to do so. Go to our consumer site, Carfax.com. Over 30 million consumers every single year will visit our site. Because the initial goal is to run a few reports, or find a little bit more out about Carfax. Where do we get our information from? Well, to our site, it has two very important things. If you look at the top scroll bar there, you'll notice find a car and find a dealer. Consumers in today's market aren't just using our information to decide what car. They're also using our information every single day to decide what dealer do I want to do business with. So Carfax information and dealing with a dealership that is partnered with Carfax is important to that consumer. They're not going to find a dealership within our website that's partnered or a vehicle within our website advertised that doesn't offer that vehicle history report as free courtesy. So I'm going to run it down the path that the consumer on Carfax.com. So assume that from our homepage they click on Find a Dealer. Going to get. They simply put in their zip code, the distance they're willing to search, and make the vehicle they're interested in. The next going to get will look at all the dealers near you search parameters. Now here the consumer has a couple options. On the left-hand side, they can click on their website. Naturally, that will take them straight to the dealer's homepage where they can view all their inventory. Now, remain inside Carfax because it's a peace sign. They like being at Carfax. They can click on View Inventory on the right-hand side, and what we're going to get is a complete list of all the dealership's inventory. Now, notice too here is basic. I want to use the word boring. Now, when to compete with the traders, the cars.coms of the world, they're big cars. We're not trying to be an advertising company, but we have the ability to make a connection between the consumer, the dealer, bring you together and get the heck out of the way. That's what this is designed to do. Make that connection and get out of the way. From the list of your dealership's inventory, they have a couple options again. They can click View Free Carfax Report because you in the report. It posts on our site as a free courtesy to the consumer. We'll click on View Details or Photos or your ship name on the right-hand corner. That's going to drive that consumer straight back to your website where they can view picture, price, information. We want to drive them straight to you. We don't want to be the man where we're having a lead towards you, where there's a delay of almost a day in getting that information. We want to drive them straight to your website so they can contact you directly. So just on Carfax.com, how we're having more traffic into your virtual showroom. Now, I mentioned AutoTrader earlier and how those, we have exclusive partnerships. This is how it works. Now, I want you to glance at this. I know you need education on what AutoTrader looks like, but I take a glance at this through the eyes of the consumer and kind of get a feel for how they're behaving. On an AutoTrader listing, when the consumer hits this, they're looking at your cars, the things that they're interested in, the first thing they look for is a picture. In the picture, they're moving on. They want as many pictures as possible, inside, outside, every angle. If they like the picture, if that's the car they can see themselves sitting in and test driving, the second thing they want is a vehicle history report, where they on the right-hand side of that top example there, the free Carfax vehicle history report. The keyword there is free. They full value to that consumer. If they went to our website to run it themselves, it's going to cost them $39.99 for one report. So you're putting that piece of my information at a $40 value free. Now, if you look down at that third example, a stock or a generic photo, first number one is not there. The second they want is a Carfax report. On the right-hand side, you'll see get a Carfax record check. Now, if you've not clicked on that in the past, I would encourage you to click on one of those just so you can experience for yourself what the consumer sees. So that free report, that peace of mind, all the information they're requesting, that is going to drive them to Carfax.com. We will provide them with just that, a record check. The customer database, we have 17 records on a particular vehicle. However, customer, if you want to view those records, it's going to cost you $39.99 to information. Now, the consumer is going to perceive those records to be poor, bad records. So they're back to AutoTrader, and they're going to continue their search. Second thing they look for is that Carfax report. So that's why we have these partnerships with AutoTrader, Cars.com, advertising sites such as that, so that we can enhance your efforts and keep the consumer on your listing and drive them closer to you, not further away. Now, the remainder of my slides aren't going to require too much explanation. I just want to give you some examples. Some dealerships out there are taking their Carfax partnerships to the next level and just co-branding and using that emotional connection I spoke about earlier to drive more awareness and kind of separate themselves from the competition in their area. Now, here's an example of a dealer's site. Now, you'll notice, obviously they offer the free Carfax report within their website. But what I want you to take notice to is the sell, the details. The details in your website can be the most expensive real estate. That doesn't necessarily want to know that the vehicle has the heat plate, or it has a leather heated seat or a sunroof. That's kind of the standard, the norm. But put something there in at the top that grabs their attention. I'm not just strictly talking about Carfax. But example here, Carfax Warner, 5 guarantee, clean title. These are things that are going to separate your vehicle from the competition, driving that consumer to be more enticed or more interested in not only that car, but doing business with your dealership. It's like Facebook, your social media efforts, make it relevant. And again, I'm not just talking about Carfax, but put something in these sites, pictures, events that mean something to the consumer that's going to drive them to want business with you. This particular dealer decided to run a free Carfax report day, offering $40 value to anybody that shows up to get a Carfax report on their car, regardless of whether they were interested in buying or trading, but come by for your free $40 report. To you that are on our Advantage program, you have an unlimited access to our it's not cost a single dime, but to the consumer, you're providing an extra benefit, an extra $40 value, and you're creating a reputation, peace of mind, letting them know this may be where we want to do business. Posts, sure you have keywords that jump out to the consumer. I'm not going to read this entire post to you, but notice, every vehicle has a Carfax report. The Carfax report is no charge, absolutely free to the consumer. So a couple keywords that jump off, again, driving more traffic, more awareness to this particular ship. Now, I'm a big Twitter guy. Example, you'll notice that this particular dealer is advertising their inventory and posting a link that's going to drive that customer from the Twitter page to Carfax report. Now, Carfax report, we put up several links that drives that consumer from the Carfax report to your dealership website, the virtual showroom. So, the effort here isn't to just provide that free Carfax report. The effort is to get the consumer step closer to your website, eventually closer to walking in your front door. For the report, we're going to help the consumer through the report, find it to your virtual showroom, to hit your site. Now, an example of a website, a dealership that just took it to this level. Now, every dealer website the consumer goes to, they see a picture of, that new vehicle is a 2013, Jeep Cherokee. How different? How is that grabbing attention? How is that different than the other 10 websites the consumer visited earlier that day? This gives their attention. Something Carfax has named as a dealer. And then this dealer is a dealership that offers Carfax reports on every vehicle that they sell, so the consumer can purchase from them with full confidence. Just something different. Be creative, capture attention. Ban on throughout your website. Now, Carfax can help you with the artwork. I mean, we're more willing to help you co-brand, Carfax with your dealer so that you can provide this peace of mind or, this trust, transparency, that the consumer sees when they notice that you partner with a third-party, recognized, trusted source. Something that never, ever gets old. This is several years old, but many, many dealers still do Carfax one-owner sales events. may not even realize that your inventory, you're sitting on between 60 and 80% of vehicles. Why not emphasize on that? Chat with the consumer. Run a Carfax one-owner sales event and drive the consumer to come and see your one-owner inventory. Consumers have been proven to be willing to pay between 15 and 23% more for Carfax one vehicle, but they have to know about it. We need to find creative ways to get messaging out to them. So if you would like to get with your Carfax rep or call into Carfax, we can definitely help you through work or support, launch a weekend Carfax one-owner sales event. The idea behind this was to stand out, be different, be creative, find something unique about your vehicles, your dealerships, and advertise based on that. Kind of realize or find out what's important to your consumer and advertise to what's important to them, what separates you from the competition, and have their attention and business towards your dealership. This time I'm going to pass it back to John and Britt so that we can answer any questions or concerning any help that we possibly provide to you. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
That was fantastic. I really appreciate it. I know everyone learned a lot from that. I sure did. And I had not seen that slide of the Twitter feed driving people to Carfax vehicle history reports. That was pretty cool. That's great stuff. We do a ton of questions. I'm going to try to narrow some of them down and pick some of the ones that maybe have been asked a couple times. And I'm going to go back and forth between the two of you, and we'll get as many in as we can before we run out of time. Bill, I've got the first question is for you. The question is, why doesn't Craigslist just charge for a posting?
Well, that's a great question. I actually saw a MSNBC interview with Craig back about a couple of years ago, and he actually said at some point you have enough money. And I really think that they're just trying to keep it a green local site. They're making the money that they need to make, and at some point it's not a real for-profit type company, and it's the nature of their beast. They always change, but as of right now, the way that it's set up, I don't see it happening anytime in the near future.
Okay, great. Mike, this one came in for you. This says, will Carfax get involved if I were to hold a Carfax one-owner sales event at my dealership?
Question. Depending where you're located, are you an active Carfax customer? Do you have a local rep? There's many different ways that we can get involved. We can help you with artwork. If you do radio spots, we can incorporate the voice of the Fox. If you do TV ads, we can incorporate Fox as well as within your website. We can provide sale materials, and again, depending where you're located, if you have a local rep, we could possibly provide local support at your sale so that you have Carfax representation at your dealership while the sale is being run. So the answer is yes. We can, in aspects, get very, very involved in that one-owner sales event. Absolutely.
That's great. For you that came in, it said, I was told that It says, I was told the Craigslist posting limit for my account was 5 postings. You're describing 25 a day. Is there something I'm missing?
That's a great question. I've never seen anything that actually said that there's a limit as to what you're allowed to do. There are certain rules, and like I said, that's right in the beginning. I referenced the terms of service, and obviously, I would definitely encourage somebody to read their terms of service. But I know I'm not allowed to do the same thing over and over again, the same vehicle in the same day, same account, same all of that kind of stuff. But I've never seen an actual limit. So that may be something to take offline and to find out, more information as to, who said it and why.
Okay. Great. Definitely pass that along to you then. I got one for you. How can I go about getting or updating Carfax logos on my website? And can I use those in posts?
Absolutely. Again, it depends what kind of support you have through Carfax. If you have a low rep, that's a good start. Many times, as far as your websites go, updating logos or adding logos, in terms of the live links that are going to take the consumer to the Carfax report, a lot of that is done straight through your host. So depending on who hosts your website, that's going to be as simple as a phone call to your web host provider and making aware of whatever changes or ads you want to make. A lot of times I see a lot of dealerships that have our logos on their website. I mean, they're aged logo, and we have a lot of new, fancier, more catchy logos that you can update to. As far as posts go, in terms of Facebooks and Twitter, the sort of thing, definitely get with your Carfax rep or call in Carfax. I believe we'll post some information after this where you can get in contact with us. But we definitely provide you with artwork that you can use in your websites or your posts. But all that can be done either through your rep or a phone call into Carfax in our 1-800 support line. Absolutely.
There. Another question for you. It's kind of a combo. It's related specifically to being flagged and ghosting. So it says, if my posts are getting ghosted, what do I do to reverse this? And how do I stop my Craigslist ads from being flagged?
Again, the best way to stop the flag, let's a two-part. So the best way to stop flagging is, make sure that you're doing things correctly. The community is, like I said, self-policed, and there's not really a lot you can do. There's nobody you can call to try to rectify the issue. The customers, or the end user on Craigslist is typically the ones that are doing the flagging, unless it's a bunch of local dealerships that are teaming against you. Going is a totally different animal. I really want to give actual suggestions. There's things that you can do to try to make that you're within doing certain things correctly. If you're currently ghosted, then it's probably from sins of the past. So that's something that it's probably a one-on-one take a look at. Here's a couple of steps that you can take, but don't know if it's for the webinar.
I've got one more quick question for Mike. And Mike, it sounds like a lot of people are very interested in getting Carfax materials to help support their sales efforts, which is great. It says, where can I get information about available Carfax point-of-sale materials? Is there additional cost? I'm assuming they mean things like the window decals, stickers that go on cars, the one-owner stickers, and that sort of thing.
That's a great question. I mean, if you're already a Carfax customer, there's no additional charge. It's all included. The quickest way for you to get that material will be to log into your Carfax account. Up in the top there'll be a resources tab. Inside there you'll find point of sale materials. Click on that will take you to kind of our online store. We'll go in there and just pick and choose. I mean, there's window stickers, windshield stickers, showroom door stickers, tags, banners, you name it. If you do have a rep, that's another great resource for that. Either call them up or when they come by, they typically have a supply in their vehicle with them. So, but the fastest way to do that would be to log into your Carfax account, sources, point of sale materials, and you click on there, it tells what you want, how much you want, where is it, and in a few days it will arrive to your dealership.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. In the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and cut off now. I appreciate all the questions that were submitted, and we definitely appreciate everyone that participated in this PowerUp webinar. We've got up on the screen right now, if you've got a couple of questions maybe that didn't get answered, we've got both Bill's and Mike's emails showing up on the screen there. Or additional questions, you can contact PowerUp@Carfax.com. Also, that's the email address to use if you'd like a recording of today's event. And our next event is going to be held on October 30th. So be sure on the lookout for emails and registration forms for that. Mike, we appreciate your time, some fantastic data and some fantastic information you shared with us. I know I've learned a lot, and I hope everyone else has too.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, sir.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.